Charlie, I'm going to pick up the mic and walk around with it and hopefully remember what's on my slides. Yeah, I'm with the American Radio Relay League. That's the ham radio people. We are the nerds that run radios and things when disasters happen worldwide. And then I'm the president of Dykes on Bikes. We're 4,000 women worldwide on every continent, except Antarctica, where our motorcycles don't start. And we lead the pride parades and things like that. So I've pitched those. And then I'm also on the board of Mental Health America. So any of you all that have mental health needs, please reach out to Mental Health America. We're a great organization. I'm going to talk a little bit about things political and advocating, and nobody likes to talk about politics in business. And politics frequently requires people to get out the green soap and take a scrub brush to themselves after participating. I'm not going to tell you how to vote today. I'm going to tell you to vote. But what I am going to talk about is this concept of advocacy as business leaders and as individuals in our community. And advocacy is a very dangerous thing to do in business because it can back up into your wealth and profit. And I'm kind of the flip side of the coin of Connie's presentation, because frequently in the political and regulatory world, you got to work with people you are not going to agree with, who do not embrace your values, and it's very difficult sometimes to be in the room with these people. But it's very important for your business. It is important for your community that our businesses are advocates. And so, it really is this idea that I have causes, and one of the main causes, I'm a fat girl. I have a 72-hour kid around the middle, and I try to compound it daily. I like to eat, and therefore making some money is very important. And if you blow up your business because of a cause or vice versa, you can get very, very hungry very, very fast. So, again, I'm not going to talk about partisan politics, things like that. In fact, both of the organizations that I represent in the chamber are 501c3s, and we can advocate, we can't politic. And so hopefully by the end of this you'll be clear on that, because a lot of 501s feel like they can't say anything in the political arena. And that's very wrong. You can and you should, and frankly I would say you must. This is a thing that you need to do for your business, because if you are not active in the community, if you are not active in the process, it's going to be done unto you. And honestly, it is really true. You either do politics or politics will be done to you. And so a lot of folks just say, well, Jeri, I can't get in politics. I know I need to. I can't get into the community things. I'm too busy just trying to keep the lights on in my business. Or if I'm big in corporate, I spend a lot of time there, my God, I'm just trying to make my key milestones for this quarter, and I don't have time to do this. You really don't have time not to. And so I want to talk a little bit about, why you can do this and how you can do this without spending a ton of time, and make it part of what you do as a business. So I want to start with a little case study. Susie's Studio 31 Salon. It's where I get my hair done. So if you like it, go there. If you don't, it's not the place. Anyway, Susie's is actually run by Ashley. I don't know. That's how it works. And during COVID, there were some things that came down from the Salt Lake County Health Department and from all the other folks that were telling the health departments how to act, that essentially were putting her out of business and other salons like her. And she happened to know through the community one person at the health department. And so she called up to talk to the health department, and they were, pretty standoffish to start with. because most people were calling them up and saying, "You're putting my effing business out of business. You know, we can't do this. People, you know, I need to eat." And all of us had some of that if we were in some form of business. You know, COVID and dealing with restrictions and things like that were difficult. But because she knew one of her regulators and she didn't call up screaming at them, she was able to enter into a dialogue. And some of the guidelines changed, and it actually kept most of the salons open in Utah. And so that's kind of what I'm talking about. How do you get something done when the proverbial thing hits the fan? And a lot of us get involved in politics. The way people get involved in politics, the way businesses get involved in politics, planning, and zoning is somebody puts up a skunk works in their backyard. You know, and all of a sudden, they're going, "What happened, and how did this happen?" And I'm mad as hell about it, you know. And that's not the time to be prepping and being involved in politics, and that's the one that brings you all the stress, and mostly you lose. So, what I'm going to advocate to you is that you need to know who your political leaders are. You need to know who the ones in your neighborhood where you live are, and you need to know who the ones are where your business is. And this doesn't matter if you're corporate. If you're in a huge corporation, we got governmental relations people. That's their job to know it. Honestly, if you care about your job, you need to know this. If you care about what's going on in your community. And it's really very simple to know. You can look at their websites, you know, call them, meet them. They are at your grocery store. They have pictures on their websites. And so you can see them, and literally, you know, Senator Thatcher or Senator, you know, Weiler or any of those guys, they shop in the same grocery store you do. And so it's easy to go up to them and say, "Hey, I'm Jerry, I'm with this organization. Hey, thanks for your service." And honestly, by the second time you do that someplace, or you walk their dog past their house because they live down the street from you, they will know your name. They will know your business. And this is key long term to success in the political arena when things go wrong and regulations go wrong. So, you know who these people are. It doesn't take you very much time. And it's very, very easy to do. So how do I do that? Well, you know, you can go to a whole lot of things to look at. Right now, you know, it's the election season, so you can go to Ballotpedia. You can look at your ballot. You can find out who these people are. And honestly, a lot of people pay attention to presidential elections. We're all paying attention to that. Some of us are quite worried one way or the other and all of that. But honestly, it's your local school board. It is your local planning and zoning board. It is your city council. It's your state representative that actually has more impact on your business and your personal life. And so know who those are. And if you're really big on changing Washington, start with your local school board, because all of these people move up. And if we all showed up to school boards where they spend, you know, anywhere between $1 and $50 million a day, 365 days a year with no one watching. If you want to change Washington, pay attention to those, attend those, get involved. In about 4 election cycles, we will change Washington. So this is very easy to do. It doesn't take much time, and it will pay dividends. So then when an issue arises, you know who these people are. Moreover, they know who you are. And instead of calling up and saying, "Well, if you vote this way, you know, I'm never going to vote for you again," or people screaming at them, or what do? We show up to the hearing on Capitol Hill. Most of those hearings really are political theater. The decision is made. Now, if you have something to say, please go. And if you say it well, you may sway a legislator or something like that. But for the most part, they are political theater. Things happen because you call up that legislator, or because you've built a relationship with them about your business in town. You are the expert. And so they want your opinion on upcoming regulation or upcoming issues. And that's where you want to be as a business, because they will also be word-of-mouth referral of business in your community. And if you need to move, if you need to change your location, some sort of reason, anything like that, having that relationship is critically important. And of course, if any of you are interested, come see me and I'll help you run for higher office. Honestly, there's no place better in business to be than also an elected official. And so there we are. And of course, be active in the chamber. All of the chambers that you can be in. This chamber is a really, really important organization, and we have a voice, and we can speak about the LGBTQ world and in a business way that has meaning way beyond folks that are just there because, oh, well, we're out and we're proud. And so you can add a lot of value to the community by being from the chamber. So let's talk about an issue. You've got an issue that's come up. For God's sake, you don't need to be involved in every issue, particularly if you're a business person, particularly if you're a small business person. You need to think a little bit about what issues are really important to you personally and to your business. And so, think a little bit before you jump on issues. Most businesses, there's a business that has spoken to one of the chamber breakfasts about issues that have happened down south of here. And one of the problems is they jump on every little issue in the community and they go poke the bears. And if you irritate the bears in your community, they will show up and eat you. And so picking your battles is really important. And so ask yourself, what is it that this issue's got me riled up about? Is it a regulatory issue on my business? Does it affect the business? Is it something personal? And then what is the outcome that I want? And if you can't answer those questions, this is not your circus. These are not your monkeys. And as a business, that's very important. And we've had a lot of very high-profile businesses taught that lesson recently. And so, you need to be careful about what you choose, and then you need to understand your opposition. And a lot of us, we don't want to do that. And this is true in understanding your competition in business. If I'm a coffee shop, there's lots of coffee shops. And as Connie said, there's lots of people out doing events. What is different about what is my sweet spot? What am I good at? What am I not good at? What are they good at? And you need to understand that in political issues. And then consider what will happen if there's blowback in the community. Because you don't want to be put out of business and starving to death because you picked on an issue that you have no way to win or is way out of your league. So, we've decided that this is some issue that we care about and that we want to be involved in. Two things you got to know. What do I know about this issue? What do I not know about this issue and need to know? You need your facts, and we'll talk about that in a minute. You really need to know what those facts are. And you need to know, who do I know and who do I need to know? Because without those two, you don't have a real opportunity. And in politics, we call that having a handle on the context. And if you have a good strategy and you understand the context, you can win pretty much any argument. If you don't on either of those, then chances are you are going to lose. So, one of the key things at Actuation that we used to talk about is there are political campaigns, there are issues that come up in the community, and they seem to come out of almost nowhere like a locomotive and they get done. And whether that's a candidacy or it's an issue. And, you may watch folks laying tracks for things, and the Utah legislature is one for the LGBTQ community over the past few years has been laying a lot of tracks. And then all of a sudden these locomotives come and nail us. And so locomotives go where the tracks have been laid. So about almost a month ago now, Harley-Davidson came out and they are scrapping their DEI initiatives. Now, some background on Harley. They have been a pro-LGBTQ, pro-BIPOC company for 40 or 50 years. They are a great company to work for if you're trans, if you're LGBTQ, if you're a person of color, if you're, they are a great, great company to work for, whether you like motorcycles or not. They're really a great company to work for. So HRC calls up Dykes on Bikes, and like I say, we're on all the continents and everything. We're a player. And they wanted us to stand in front of the locomotive because over a year and a half ago, a guy named Starbuck, no relations to the organization, he was a washed-up podcaster, decided that picking on DEI initiatives was a way to reignite his career. And he's gone after a number of companies. You may have heard about Tractor Supply, some of those. And they've backed off their DEI initiatives. And honest to God, if you have DEI, just change the name on it right now, because DEI actually was a poorly implemented idea. And there's a great Forbes article about why DEI is failing. You know, read some of that. And honestly, Harley hasn't come off of their DEI initiatives, really. What they have done is they said, look, we had a DEI person. They took a better job about a year and a half ago, and we never filled the position because, well, it wasn't meeting our needs anyway. So we're going to drop this DEI thing. They haven't changed one policy. And so why be mad at them, and why stand in front of the train? And of course, the Human Rights Coalition wanted us to stand on the tracks so they could protect their DEI initiative thing. And it's like, we're not standing in front of that train. We'll pick another train to stand in front of. And so the other one, though, is there was a bathroom ordinance very similar to the brouhaha we had in the legislature in Salt Lake County. And I got a call from one of the councilwomen, and she said, Jeri, have you seen the initiative that, well, I'll throw her under the bus, Dee put on the agenda? And I said, no, I hadn't. So I read it really quick, and I said, oh, that's not good. And she said, well, I asked her if she'd had time to talk to you about it, and she said no. And I said, well, gee, we've got 3 or 4 days here. And she said, well, I wondered if you'd be free 8 a.m. tomorrow morning at the Delease. We'll have breakfast with her. And so I spent from 8 until noon talking with Dee Theodore, who realized that a bunch of people in my party, I'm a Republican, sorry to tell you that, and we're talking about trans issues and those kinds of issues. And she couldn't pull the ordinance off the agenda, but she went to have it tabled. And, you know, we did show up with some people to speak and things like that because you have to do the political theater. But where that was killed was over breakfast. And it was because Dee knew me. And Dee said to me, well, Jeri, you're not like all the other trans women and trans people. You're moral. And you're nice. And I said, good God, Dee, how many trans people do you know? And she said, counting you? And I said, 1, right? And she said, yeah. I said, honest to God, I'm the bad representative of the trans community. You know, I'm the bad representative of the LGBTQ community. And, you know, so having those relationships are what will help your business. And this goes for regulation exactly the same way. Most of us go, oh my God, they're coming to inspect me, you know, or I'm filing something. If you don't know who those people are, and if you don't have a relationship with them, things don't go as well for you as if you do have a relationship. So it's easy to get to know these people if you want to. And you're helping the whole LGBTQ community because you're helping them to know us and go, oh, Jeri's not so bad. You know, I can get along with her. You know, and that's really what my talk is about. So let's talk about when things go bad. So there was a Pride celebration up in Boise, and there was a brouhaha with Zion Bank because they have been a long-term supporter of this chamber, of the Pride Center in Salt Lake and others. And, well, they decided that they were going to not pull their money, but their logo off of the Boise thing because of some feedback Idaho, you ought to take death threats seriously. Just saying, for those of you that don't know that. And so Utah Pride Centers came out and said, we want to have nothing to do with Zion Bank. And this chamber said, we're really disappointed. But friends, when they're disappointed with friends, sit down with them and explain our disappointment. We challenge our friends to do better. Well, gee, the Pride Center ran into all kinds of issues, some of which are that attitude. If you aren't exactly what we want you to be, we have to cut our relationship with you. And we do that in politics today. We have a lot of, I don't have to like you, you're bad, because you're not where I'm at. And if you're bad and evil, I don't have to listen to you. And I'll tell you that a stop clock is right twice a day. So even the other side, the biggest hater to you or whatever else, is probably right twice a day. And you're stupid not to jump on when they're right. And so really, again, the chamber's very adult in this, and a good reason to join this chamber, not that, I'm telling you things. And I want to talk about two companies. So I apologized to Emily earlier because I didn't talk to her about the fact that I was going to throw her logo up and talk about her company. But Emily is in a neighborhood where there's a lot of Gen Z people, and she's weathered an incredible, I don't know how she's in business. I don't know how anybody in Sugar House is in business. But on top of that, some, things have happened. She had a fence issue, she had some vandalism, she's had all of these things, and the community's tried to come together around her. And if you haven't been to Sugar House Coffee, shame on you. But the other thing is, this is an unabashedly LGBTQ friendly place. I think one of the slogans is, making straight people unhappy since, before Hector was a pup. And that works in her community. That works in her demographic. And, if she were to step on an issue in that community, the community will come to support with her because she knows everybody, and they know her, and they know her staff, and there's a community there, and she's a community center. Let's talk about Starbucks. Well, Starbucks has dropped their DEI initiatives because their shareholders at the shareholders meeting, better than 90% voted to take DEI as a compensation item off of their executives. This is after Starbucks won in court on the right of businesses to have DEI initiatives. And their new CEO put out a letter last month before, anyway, talking about what he's going to do with his first 100 days. And he's back about, we need to focus on being a community meeting place. We need to focus back on the fact that we're a coffee shop. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't ridden in his plane, and I don't run in his circle. Yeah, but, honestly, they could have come out and said some other things. And dropping the DEI initiative hasn't changed the fact that Starbucks is a great place to work if you happen to be LGBTQ, particularly if you happen to be trans because of their health benefits. Again, Emily's business is a great place to work. Ask any of her employees. It's a family. She takes care and pays her employees well. And, they will crawl through ground glass for her, and vice versa. And that, and so you look at this, and you say, well, Starbucks could easily turn around and look at the demographic. They're still great with Gen Z. And Gen Z is poor right now. But in the next few years, Gen Z is going to be huge. And so whether you're Chase or you're, a little teeny business, a little boutique in the neighborhood, know why you're flying a pride flag. Be able to speak to that. be able to speak to the issues and how that affects your business. Because frankly, any company, any big company right now needs to understand the demographics of Gen Z. Okay, I mean, wow, you know, they're 28% LGBTQ. Now, most of those are bi. You know, it used to be kind of weird to be bi. Now, apparently, it's the thing, you know. But, you know, look at these numbers. And these are from legitimate organizations. You ought to pull, all of you in business ought to pull these two publications down and read those studies. Because this is what's going to happen in the next 5, 10 years. And so if you're going to have a DEI initiative, don't just say, well, we think we should have more inclusion. Turn around and say, it's good business to have inclusion because of this, 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 and this. That's how you talk to shareholders. That's how you talk to politicians. That's how you talk to regulators about what you're doing. Have your facts. Do not be a dilettante. And so I love this shirt. I couldn't find the sign I was looking for, but it said, one of them said trans for Hamas, and another one said homos for, or gays for Hamas. And both of them I witnessed downtown Salt Lake in a pro-Palestinian protest. Back on the weekend we had T-Door in November a year ago. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to feel about what's going on in Gaza right now. That's up to you. Know your facts. And if you want to hold a sign that says, you know, I care for the people living in Gaza or in war zones, or we shouldn't be killing people, you know, hey, those are good values. By the way, those are good values for your business, right? We don't like people dead here, so you can eat our food. We won't kill you. You know, I mean, that should be, you know, part of the social contract up front in opening your business. But don't stand up as a dilettante, because in 2 months prior to the Hamas attack on Israel, they took a trans woman. It wasn't official that they went to court because they don't do that in Gaza. Hamas doesn't do that. They buried a trans woman up to her breasts and stoned her to death. So don't hold a sign that says trans for Hamas. That's like Jews for Hitler, you know? And I mean, that's very traumatic for people to hear. So again, when you know your facts, know what your facts are. If you cut a deal with your regulator or you cut a deal with a politician, you know, keep to your word, because those are the things that are the coin of the realm. And, you know, you got to understand what's going on if you're going to get involved in the political process. And if you need help, call somebody. There's some of us that'll do it for free if we're in our own state, because you don't want to lobby in your own state. It's like, you know, doing certain things in your nest you don't want to do. So this is just a quick overview of the political process and how you can get involved. And I try to leave some time for questions, because people have questions about how to be involved in the political process without ever getting them answered. So if any of you have questions, I'll take a couple here, and then I'm around the rest of the day. Yes, sir. I'm a very small business owner. Mm-hmm. So what business do you have? And I'm sorry, I should know. Okay. So the issues that as a business you should speak to are those issues. So those are women's issues. And you know, you may want to take a position on reproductive rights, but also understand where the other side is coming from. So I think I said I'm a Republican. I am unabashedly pro-life. Ooh, I said that here. But I'm also a believer that You know, life is an inalienable God-given right, but so is liberty. And so liberty is an inalienable God-given right, and that is to be in control of your own body. So the way I frame this and the way I can live with myself is simply this. When there are two God-given rights, the right of a child to exist and live and the right of a woman to have control of her own body, are two inalienable rights at diametric opposition sometimes. And the one thing I know about that is that the United States Congress and the Utah State Legislature are the two least capable organizations to make that decision. And so I can be pro-life and pro-choice by turning around and saying, look, this is a decision that a woman should make with her doctors, with the key people in her life, and it's probably one of the hardest decisions that anybody can make. And so, you know, how you advocate and then how you speak to that issue, because I'm not in a room full of Republicans, I don't think, right? And so, as a Republican, I have to speak to my own party. And I have the dubious distinction up until 2 years ago of being the only openly transgender LGBTQ officer in the Utah Republican Party until I was invited to leave my position over the trans healthcare issue. So, you know, come out and have facts. Have a way to explain that looks good on TV, right? Have your sound bites put together. And then you can advocate for those issues. And then there are personal issues that don't affect your business, so do that more personally and probably more quietly if your business, because you don't want a bunch of the Proud Boys out in front of your business as some of our sugar house businesses have experienced. So the last time I ran for the legislature, John Huntsman was our governor, and I was invited to have lunch at the governor's mansion with John and his wife. And his wife has always looked to me as the trophy wife who goes like this out in public. And an article had come out in the Salt Lake Tribune that wasn't all that friendly to me. And so John had said, you know, this is just politics. Don't let it get to you. And she sat there and went like this at John, and then she said, and Jeri, that's why we don't let John read his press clippings. I read them. And the first thing I asked myself is, does the Huntsman family have something to fix or apologize for? And if so, we're going to get right on that. And if not, I just assume that the reporter is either very ill-informed or a complete and total idiot. And what I took away from that is I'm going, I bet John Jr. or John Sr. was so happy when John Jr. brought that woman home. He said, my God, that woman can take care of my boy. And so there's a really important point in that, is getting to know those people and being that person that they can look at and not be an idiot and learn about. And that's really the opportunity for you when any regulatory or political issue comes up. The other thing is know somebody you can call in a crisis to help you with that, because you cannot weather your own crisis on your own. So if you're a small business, you're getting protested something, call somebody like me, and we'll come help you. So thank you very much.